When I first started shooting film photography, there was a lot of mistakes that I made that costed me time, money, and a lot of wasted film rolls. So in this video, I'm going to break down all of the biggest mistakes that I made when first learning how to shoot film so you don't have to repeat them. So mistake number one, I would say, is using the wrong film stock. Not all film is created equal. Certain film stocks work better in certain light and just certain styles. Each film stock has its own unique look, so it's definitely good to educate yourself on what film stocks you like the best and what film stock is going to benefit the photo shoot that you're about to do. If you're curious about what certain film stocks do, I have a playlist where I review film stocks. I'll link it in the description below for you to check out. Film stocks that are 100 and 200 are meant to be shot outside, or just more or less meant to be shot in a very bright area. So make sure if you're shooting these lower ISO film stocks, you have enough light for them. And this is typically why people just buy Portra 400, because it is going to be good in either circumstance. Whether you have really good lighting or you have really dim lighting, Portra 400 is a very versatile film stock. So with it being a 400 base ISO, you're able to have more range with your shutter speed and your aperture because the ISO is higher. And again, if you're shooting at a ISO 100 film stock, you're gonna need a lot of light for the proper exposure of that film stock. And to give another example of that, when I went to Hawaii, I only brought, I think, 10 rolls of Ektar 100. I brought Ektar because I knew that we would be in a very bright situation, typically shooting outside, long days outside, very bright scenarios. That's why I brought Ektar 100. And if you look through some of the photos, you'll see that the color contrast, and it's just a very vivid, saturated look, which I love. So this is why I would use Ektar 100 in a very bright scenario. So to finish mistake number one, I would just say that definitely do your research on what film stocks are going to be best for the photo shoot that you are looking to shoot the film on. So mistake number two, I would say, is just getting proper exposure. For film, it's typically better to overexpose your image than underexpose, and here's why. Sometimes when you underexpose your film photography, you can get a very muddy look. Some people do like that, and some people do it for the look. I'll show you an example of what I mean by this. You can just see in the shadows that they are very faded, very green, and that is just a sign of an underexposed image. Now when you expose properly, the film stock is going to come out more contrasted, more punchy, and that's just because you nailed the exposure. But I would always say, when you're metering your film photography, make sure you just give it one more stop of light. That way you get a better image. I typically find that film photography does better in highlights, whereas digital photography does better in shadows. Meaning you can save the shadows in digital better than you can in film, and in film you can save the highlights better than you can the shadows. So that's just something to note as you're going to expose your film roll, but just make sure that you're shooting at the proper ISO and that your meter is accurate. There's a lot of ways that you can meter your photography. If your camera has a built-in light meter, that is a benefit. If not, I know that there are a couple apps you can get on your phone to meter, and also you could just buy a light meter too. I think they go around $200 or something like that. It's kind of expensive, but definitely worth it if you're somebody who shoots film on a regular basis. And if you're doing film for client work, then you definitely want to make sure that you are not wasting any rolls at all. So mistake number three is forgetting to set your ISO on manual cameras. So my EOS 630 is a pretty automatic film camera. It doesn't really require a lot of manual work to it unless you want to shoot in manual. But what I'm getting at is that if you load a film roll into the 630, it immediately identifies what ISO the film stock should be shot at. So if you put Portra 400 in the 630, it automatically will shoot at 400. If you put Ektar 100 in the EOS 630, then it will shoot at 100 ISO. So something to note if you have a full manual camera is that you will have to set the ISO intentionally. You will have to do it yourself. So on my Mamiya 645E, that is the case for that camera. I always have to set my ISO manually, and sometimes I just forget to because I just want to load it in and start shooting. So definitely make sure you check your ISO before you start shooting the film, just to make sure that you are dialed in and your exposures are going to be proper. So mistake number four is expecting your film to look like digital. Film is just naturally very different than digital photography. So when you go into shooting film, don't expect your shots to look the same as they would come off of your Canon R5, for example. Digital photography is such a perfect medium, and I think that is actually why people are craving more film now than ever. When you shoot film photography, it has texture already. It has limited dynamic range that usually looks so beautiful. And my favorite thing about film photography is just the unique imperfections. So with that, I would just say to not expect them to look the same, and definitely understand that film is unique and you're gonna get a more unique image. Now, is that to say that it's better? No, it's all preference, obviously. But with that being said, film does have a way of having its imperfections that you can't plan. And I think that's the best part about it. So yeah, for mistake number 4, just don't expect your film photography to come out looking digitally, or to expect it to have the same resolution. It's just a very different format. And with that, I think it's just best to accept the natural and beautiful imperfections that it brings. Okay, so mistake number 5, I would definitely say, is storing your film properly. Heat and humidity can actually affect the quality of the film roll. So make sure you do not leave your film sitting in the car. Take it inside with you. Try to put it in a refrigerator or something like that, a place where you can store it in a cool and dark area. Because once that heat and humidity gets to that film roll, it actually ends up changing the quality of it. I find that 35mm is already sometimes not enough quality, and you definitely don't want to let it sit in the heat and diminish that. So you definitely want to keep it in the fridge, or just keep it in a dark, cool down area to make sure that you get the most out of that film stock. Another thing you want to look out for when you're starting to shoot film is the actual cost of film. My tip to you is just be intentional with your shots. Think before you press the shutter. Make sure your shot is metered. Make sure that everything is dialed in before you actually take the image, because you don't want to end up shooting just recklessly, because you're going to end up wasting a lot of money. So be very intentional with your shot and make sure that you get the shot dialed in before you actually take it. As someone who shoots film and digital for campaigns, I do understand the price and what it requires to get the film developed for campaigns like that, and make sure that everything goes smoothly. And with that, that does cost a lot of money. In the year of 2024, I easily spent multiple thousands on film, getting it developed and purchasing it. And with all that being said, I still come back to the format, and I think that it's absolutely worth it. When you're shooting film the next time, just make sure that you embrace the imperfections. You set the shot up properly before you shoot it. You store the film in a proper place. Make sure that it's in a cool place with shadows, and it's not going to be hit by the direct sun or heat. Make sure you don't expect the film to look like digital, and just accept it for what it is. Definitely don't forget to set your ISO manually. And lastly, just make sure you got the right film stock for the photo shoot that you're gonna do. Film photography is really about learning through trial and error. If you can avoid all of these mistakes, you will definitely save yourself a lot of frustration and a lot of money. And I also think you'll just enjoy the process a little bit more. In my next video, I'm going to be doing a full review on Kodak Ektar 100, one of my favorite film stocks that I shoot often. This is going to be a good review, so be on the lookout for that next week. And let me know in the comments below, what's your biggest mistake that you made when you started shooting film? So with all that being said, I hope that this video was helpful for you guys. Definitely make sure that you tune into the video next week, and I'll see you guys then. Take care. Peace.